Hey there, this is the 5th part of a series geared to help teach new players how to play Marvel Crisis Protocol quickly or to help veterans brush up on a particular details of the game. This video is going to be dedicated to the 4 types of actions a character can perform during their turn and also be covering the different kinds of status conditions. As for the actions, each character will get 2 during their turn, which they can use. It is worth noting any cards or abilities that grant an attack or move, or any other kind of action for that matter, will not use one of your character's 2 actions. They're just kind of freebies. It is also worth mentioning that you can use the same action more than once in a turn, so feel free to move twice, attack twice, and so on. The first kind of action is a move action. This is typically where a character will do an advance at the speed indicated on their card. It can also be a climb if you are moving over terrain larger than the character's size. Movement will be further covered in next week's video, as there are a lot of details I don't really have time for here, since it also covers placements, throws, and pushes, and all the rules associated with those. The next kind of action is an attack. This is when you choose one of the attacks listed on your character's card and target an enemy that is within range to attack. Attacks are another thing that will have just a lot going on, not to mention the different types of attacks, so that will be also covered in a separate video more thoroughly. The other 2 types of actions, though, I will be able to fully cover here. A superpower action is a superpower that starts its text with the word action in bold letters. You can then do whatever the superpower tells you to do. This is very important and often misunderstood during the first couple of games, so I'm going to extra clarify it here that active superpowers do not use an action 95% of the time. The superpower has to have the action word in bold for it to cost an action, otherwise it'll only cost its power. Then we finally have the shake action, which will allow you to remove one static condition off of your character. This is helpful to mitigate the harmful effects of the different kinds of status conditions, which I will be covering now. The bleed condition will deal 1 damage at the end of a character's activation, and because a status effect is a neutral source of damage, you won't gain power for it either. The hex condition will prevent your crits from rolling in extra dice on attack, defense, and dodge rolls. The incinerate condition can cause a character to roll 1 less defense dice on defense rolls. Now, importantly, this does not affect dodge rolls or any rolls where you use your defense value for something like a crisis. The judgment condition is a nasty one because it prevents your character from gaining any power from damage dealt by enemy attacks. You still gain power from other enemy effects like throws and other superpowers, though. The poison condition will cause your character to lose 1 power during the power phase. With Root, the character must spend 1 power before using an active or reactive superpower. Then one of my favorites to give out, but least favorite to receive, is Shock, which forces the character to remove 1 die from its attack rolls. Slow makes it so that the character can only use the short movement tool while advancing. Then we have Stagger, which forces your opponent's first action to be shaking this condition. And then finally we have Stun, which says that anytime the character would gain any amount of power, they gain 1 instead. Whether that is from the power phase for things like the Asgardian superpower where you gain additional power, this will still limit you to 1, damage you are taking, or even the damage you dealt with your builder. This one can really just cripple a character's economy. But that's all for this week. Next week we will be back with movement.